Hey guys, if you have followed the channel for any length of time, you probably have heard me talk about camping or seen videos related to camping. I have an entire playlist on things that I take camping with us, products that I use, a checklist for camping, refrigerators, power stations, stoves, all that type of stuff. We had a pop-up camper for about 10 years, and we would typically go 5 to 6 times a year for a week at a time. So pretty much from April to November, every month we were camping. And if you were to look at my subscription list on YouTube, probably half the channels that I follow are actually camping channels. And any of you that camp know that for whatever reason it is, food always tastes better when you're camping. I don't care if it's just a simple hamburger or hot dog or whatever, it just tastes better when you're out there camping. So, anyhow, I came across a video on YouTube a few weeks ago, and the people in there were showing this knife, and they really didn't describe it. They didn't really say a whole lot about it. It was really just them showing that they had it, and it looked really interesting to me. So, I reached out to the company and asked if they'd be willing to send me one to take a look at. These knives are coming from a company called nCamp, and they are the food prep knife. And they were actually kind enough to send me two different models. And what we have here is the premium Santoku style knife and the elite chef style knife. But I figure we'll do a real quick unboxing of both knives. I'll go over features and specifications. I'll kind of compare and contrast each of these to each other. And then we'll maybe do some cutting and stuff, and I'll show you what I typically use when I'm camping. You can use these for at home too. These do not have to be used for camping, and I'll show you the benefits of that as well. But let's get into it here. So we'll start with that premium Santoku. And just so you know, nCamp is a US based company. The knives are not made in the US though. Boxes are fairly plain, just kind of like has their stickers and stuff on it. Let's see what we got going on here. So there's two different things it looks like in here. That might just be like filler because that didn't have any weight to it. Just to kind of prevent that other knife from sliding around. So we do have a small manual here. Show you that for cleaning and care. See if it has anything about a warranty on here. There's a warranty. Looks like it's 2-year warranty. All right. Again, I don't think there's anything in this one. We'll see. Yeah, that's empty. All right, so everything's in this box. So it looks like it has a little sheath. That has like some paracord almost that you can cinch it down. And again, this is the premium Santoku. And I'll go over everything in details, but this one has a beechwood handle on it. And then let's get this one here out real quick. I assume it's the same thing. Filler. Probably nothing different on this. Okay. And let's get this one out, then I'll kind of clean things up here. So this one actually does come with like an actual sheath. This one's more just like a carrying pouch. There's no way to attach it to your belt or anything like that. This one does have an actual belt sheath with it. And this feels like it's leather. And again, this is the Elite. And this one has a really nice looking walnut handle. Give you guys some real quick dimensions, and they are the same for both knives. Our overall length is 5.75 inches. At its widest spot here, we're probably about 1.75 inches. And the thickness of the handle, It's probably like 11/16 or so. Full length opened up, the Santoku is 10.7 inches and the chef knife is 10.5 inches. So because the Santoku is a little bit longer, it is going to weigh a little bit more. And maybe the woods of the handles might be a little bit different and steels, but this one weighs 6.1 ounces. And the Elite Chef weighs 5.8 ounces. So before we really get into the knives, I will show you the sheath and that little carrying bag. Again, it is stamped with their logo and name. And again, you wear this vertically on your belt. It's a decent little sheath, button closure. And again, not a whole lot to this little pouch bag. It does have their information there. I always appreciate that when a company does that, but so you just slide this in there. All right, I'm gonna give you guys some kind of up close here of the Santoku first. And again, this is beechwood. As you can see here, all of the hardware is kind of inset, so nothing kind of sticks out above the handle so that when you're gripping it, you don't feel any of this. This is a little bit of texturing right there on both sides. You can just barely feel that. I think that'll help you grip it a little bit better. And both of these are liner locks, and that's the liner right there. We'll open this up and I'll show you how that will click into place here. See that it kind of right in the middle of the blade there, so we should have really good lockup. And the Santoku version, it's a Japanese styled knife, and they actually take these little sections and they remove them from the knife, and it reduces the overall weight of it. The steel that they're using on the Santoku is a 9CR18 MOV. That type of steel is great for knives. It allows you to get a really nice sharp edge. It keeps that edge for a really long time. It's very corrosive resistant. It's a hard steel. Show you guys some up close here of the Elite Chef. Again, the handles look identical. This is walnut. And you can kind of see like this honeycomb style. Again, that is like cut into it. So it does provide a little bit of texturing there. Again, liner lock. It's right there. Let's see how that locks up. See, it's starting to move. That one doesn't go quite as far over as what the other one did. Let's check out, see what the blade play is once that's opened up. Essentially none. That locks up really solid. And the Elite Chef is using a 10 CR 15 COMOV steel on it. It's a little bit harder than what that 9 CR was on the Santoku, but really you couldn't tell the difference. And it has the same type of, having a really nice edge. It holds that edge for a long time. It's easy to sharpen. Has a lot of corrosion resistant properties. So if you're obviously cutting food such as tomatoes that might be acidic, or just through wet foods and stuff like that, it's not going to rust, and it's going to be very corrosive resistant. So again, I plan on using one of these for camping, but I did want to show you just like in comparison to normal like kitchen knives. So just kind of look how much room this one takes up in your drawer. Another problem with these is that the edge is always exposed. So anything else that you're shoving in that drawer, whether it's spatulas and tongs and whatever it might be, are hitting against this edge, making it dull out. So you can see just how much smaller one of these knives are. But again, you have a really decent length blade. And here in a bit, I'll kind of do some, maybe cut up some potatoes or onions or something like that, and we'll compare a normal household knife to these knives. So when we go camping now, and I need to either slice or dice some food, I will typically just pull out like my EDC knife, which is this Benchmade mini griptilian, or I'll try to use my Leatherman. And neither of these blades are ideal for doing food tasks. And then I do keep this knife here at my camping tote, but I kind of turned it into like a dedicated firewood processing, like if I need some kindling or anything like that. So I don't really like to use this knife for food. Plus, when you're processing firewood, it does tend to dull the blade out pretty quick. All right, let's cut up a couple things. We'll kind of compare the nCamp knives to like a traditional chef knife. We'll start with some potatoes. I couldn't find two that were the exact same size, but these should be close enough that it'll give us a good comparison. So let me just say I'm not a chef. I don't know all the fancy chef cuts on different vegetables and fruits and stuff. I'm going to kind of see how much force it kind of takes to go down through it, compare it to like I said, a chef knife, and we'll just kind of go from there. Just going to see here. So that went through very, very easily. And I'll probably just go ahead and cube these up a little bit so it'll get a few cuts on each one. I know they act like you can hold this out on the edge here with like a chef knife and do different cuts and all that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm looking to do here. Again, I'm just going to make sure I don't cut my fingers here looking through the camera. Again, I'm just kind of looking at seeing how sharp it goes down through it and kind of how much force it takes me to get through this. I do have my finger on the top of the spine here, and that's kind of where I'm pushing at, is through this part right here, and I'll do the same thing when I get to the other one. I realize this may not be the most scientific or accurate way to do something, but all right. I can say right away that that nCamp definitely went through the potato with less force and a whole lot smoother than what this big chef knife is. That took me a whole lot more force to get through that. Again, maybe this knife here is a little bit dull. It is a few years old. Maybe it's the size of it, maybe because I have more force back here. But whatever the reason is, the nCamp definitely went through this stuff easier. We'll finish up this one and then we'll move to something else. Before I move on, I do want to check out the Santoku knife on a potato, see if it sticks like it was sticking with the other ones. But that really does slice through pretty easily. This is what I'm interested in seeing. Sometimes with these little cutouts, it prevents food from sticking to the knife as much. Potatoes, when they're wet and stuff, are really sticky. So let's just see. So the whole thing stuck there, but let's see if the individual pieces do. So that's definitely better than what the other knives were. We finished that cut. As far as food not sticking to it. The entire thing is, but when you go through each individual thing, yeah, it's not sticking really at all. I'm going to do an onion next. I do have on gloves for this. I hate my hands smelling like onions for hours and hours. I'll probably do one of them to split it in half, and then we'll do each side maybe with a different one. So this is obviously a pretty giant yellow onion, and it's about the same length as what this blade is. But we'll try to get this thing split in half here. Now it'll be easier to work with. Again, not a chef. I'm just trying to dice this up here a little bit. Probably kind of somewhat bigger chunks. I'm going to be mixing it in with those potatoes here in a bit. So I'm going to start with the chef knife and just make some cuts down in through it. Again, this is like really, really smooth. And then we'll kind of do a couple cuts coming in this way across. And then just down from the top. And whatever chunks we have here is what I'll use. Want to do a little bit of this dicing with the regular chef knife. Again, that requires a whole lot more force. It may just be because my knife is a few years old, but that nCamp just sliced right through that with ease. This here, I'm going to have to chop a couple more times. I also want to try out the santoku on the onion. One of the meals that we have pretty much every time we camp is just potatoes and onions over an open fire with seasoning and stuff like that. So I'm going to make it today in a crock pot. Not quite the same, I know that, but now as far as doing this like plunge cut like this, I kind of feel like the chef knife, the nCamp one, was a little bit easier to plunge into this. I don't know if it's just the blade shape or what exactly, but it seemed like that point was a little bit easier going down into this. And again, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just try to dice them up a little bit. Now that's super easy to cut through that. All right, guys, clearly this is not a long-term review as I've only used these one time so far, but I still wanted to give you some of my thoughts on them. So let me start by saying that they do not recommend putting these knives in the dishwasher. And I can see food getting stuck down in here and being an issue to get out. The other thing is both of these knives have these cutouts in the actual blade itself, and I can see food getting stuck down in here, and then you having to take wire brushes or Q-tips or something to try to clean this out. I'm sure if they do this to try to eliminate some weight, maybe it's just for design, but I'd almost rather them just eliminate these holes in the blades. Also want to let you know there's a huge difference like in texture or feel between this hickory one and this beechwood handle. This is actually kind of rough and it's obviously unfinished. So I would definitely recommend putting some kind of oil or something on this handle just to kind of prevent it from splintering or anything like that, but maybe even a stain or something on it. And the last negative that I noticed, so on the Santoku, you can open this as slow as you want, and that liner lock pops in and is super secure. And again, you can move it just a little bit and then just super slow, or you can obviously go fast, but the slow is what I want you to pay attention to here. Okay, super secure. On the Elite Chef, over the couple weeks that I've kind of had these and been messing with them, there's been a few times that I've opened this somewhat slow and that liner doesn't lock all the way over. See right there? See how I'm able to open and close that now without it popping over? And it makes the noise that makes you think that it locked in, but it doesn't. Now, if I open it hard or fast, it'll lock over there every time. But yeah, if you just kind of casually open it, see how I can just do that? And it definitely looks like it should be closed and locked, but it doesn't. All right, let's talk about some of the positives. First up is I think that this is a super, super ingenious or clever design. Having a folding chef or kitchen knife, I just think it's super smart. Imagine this again in your camping gear, or if you live in your van, the amount of space that this knife takes up, versus something like this that folded up basically is about the same size as the handle of this other one. Plus, when you fold this, it doesn't allow the blade to get damaged by other knives or utensils in your drawer. Overall, they seem like they're made with pretty quality components, and they do seem to be really well constructed. Like when you look at like the centering of the blade and the handle, it's pretty well perfect. Again, that lockup doesn't quite lock up on that one unless you do it hard, but then it locks up every single time. I do like that it's easy access to the hardware, and you can completely disassemble this if you want to. I'm not a knife blade connoisseur, but I do know that the steel that they use in both of these knives is kind of on the upper end. It's not quite the full premium steel, but it's a really good quality steel. It's corrosion resistant, which is rust resistant. It keeps an edge well, but it's also easy to resharpen if you need to. But yeah, overall, I think these nCamp knives are really sweet, and I'm happy to have them with my camping gear. So let's talk pricing real quick. These are available on Amazon. The premium Santoku, which basically gets you the knife and then that little sheath pouch type deal, those are coming in at $49. The Elite Chef knife is coming in at $99. That does give you the slightly better steel. It gives you that walnut handle. I think I might have said hickory at one point in the video, but it's a walnut handle. It does give you that belt sheath. Now, they also make a $49 version of the Chef knife, and they don't have them in stock right now, but they actually make an elite version of the Santoku, and it's the same $99 as that one up there. So in total, they have 4 different versions available. So I've obviously only cut potatoes and onions with these knives, so I can't say what it's like with other fruits or vegetables or anything. But based on those 2 different things, I would recommend the Chef knife versus the Santoku. I don't know if it's just the blade shape. Looking at the blade thickness, they look to be about the same. I can't say with 100% certainty, but this just cut a whole lot better. Now, again, I would probably recommend maybe getting the $49 version of this knife, unless you really need a sheath and stuff like that, the belt sheath. And I did a real quick internet search just to see if other companies had folding kitchen knives or chef knives. And this is just some random one here. They're $80 for their little knives. And then again, just another random company, they're $80 for theirs. So I think, 49 to 99, they're kind of right in that same ballpark. And before we end the video, I do want to remind you guys that these are not bushcraft knives. Like, these are a food prep knife. This is not going to process firewood and cut a bunch of cordage and do all the things that you would normally do with a bushcraft knife. So I will leave Amazon links to both of these knives on the video description. And then the other one that's in stock, which is actually the one that I'd recommend, I'll leave that down below as well. It basically gives you the blade of the chef knife with the handle that's on that Santoku right now. But all right, guys, if you found this video helpful or informative in any way, please give me a thumbs up. I thought these knives were pretty clever. I'd never seen them before. Thought you guys might be interested in them. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And that's going to be it on this one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.